Welcome to the Business Pulse podcast, where we will be talking to Nick Barrett, founder and inventor of CordBrick, an award-winning device featured on the Today Show that does what it says, helps you manage cords for your devices. We'll dive into his story, inspiration, and invention right now in episode 3. This is the Business Pulse podcast, where you'll discover strategies, tools, and stories to inspire success through conversations with leading business owners, startup founders, and venture capitalists. Our aim is your success. Presented by XKOVA, a next-generation payment processor to help your business thrive. Visit us at xkova.com. Hi, Nick. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Candice. Really glad to be here too.
So if somebody doesn't know what CordBrick is, can you explain to us first physically what the product does?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a small brick-shaped silicone rubber steel weighted cord holder. So I know that was a lot, but it just looks like a tiny brick that holds your phone cord, and it has cord channels, 6 of them, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and then 1 on the left side and 1 on the right side, making 6. And again, it has steel on the inside, so it's weighted. And it's made of silicone rubber, and that's because it's flexy, and you want the channels to kind of flex to accommodate the cords. And it also helps with the grip. So they come in different colors, and they're sort of symmetrical and reversible, so you can flip it upside down or right side up, and you just pop a cord in, and it should hold the cord on any surface. The problem I had was my cord was falling off my nightstand all the time, and I was in bed. I didn't want to get out of bed, pick it up off the floor. I'm like, what if I just had a little brick, no adhesive, just the weight of it could keep it wherever I put it, and that's what I invented.
I love when I hear from founders that they are their own customer. Like, you had a pain, and you know lots of other people had that pain, and you're like, I'm going to be the one to solve it. And then you did. I'm excited to dive into some of the deep details about the prototyping and about how you got your patent. But I want to, go a little bit earlier than that and talk about what was the moment? What was the aha? I need to create this.
Yeah, so I originally thought of had the problem, experienced the issue of, a cord falling on the floor, and thought of the idea of a brick that didn't have adhesive in 2015. I didn't actually start the company until 2020. COVID was going on and things were shutting down, and I thought this is the perfect time. Everyone's going to be at home. But I do remember the moment, actually. I was in bed, and I used to struggle to sleep a lot and fall asleep at night. And so minor things would annoy me and wake me up and cause me to then stay up for a few more hours. And one of those things was my cord falling on the floor, me having to get out of my bed. In 2015, you may remember, phone cords were usually a lot shorter. Now they've got like 10-foot long ones, but there weren't that many of them back then. It seems crazy, but there wasn't. And so, from bed, the cord and the plug down, a foot or 2 off the ground on the floor, and the light weight of the cord tip, it doesn't lend itself to staying in place. It wants to just gravity wants to pull it off any surface and onto the floor. And I remember thinking, like, I just need a little brick. I don't want adhesive because for a couple reasons. One, I didn't want to have to stick it in a certain spot, which could bring the paint off or something like that, and just leave adhesive goop or whatever. And then I thought, no, I literally want to put it on my bed sheet too. So, even closer to me than my nightstand. Maybe I won't have a nightstand where I'm moving around. And then I kind of had the second part of the idea, which is like, all right, and I guess I had looked at some competitors online and I saw what they did. And I thought, how could I do something that gave this product a competitive advantage? And I thought, well, the other problem with cords is when you take them and put them in your bag, they get tangled. You have to put them in a separate bag just for cords. And even when you do that, you got to wrap them up a certain way. And even when you do that, they get tangled in each other when you're undoing it. So maybe I could, wrap the cord around CordBrick so you can snap, wrap, and then trap your cord on CordBrick. And the cool part is, because you can do that, it sort of stays with your cord all the time. And then when you get to your destination, you just unwrap, and then you have your little cord holder right there. Later, when I was designing the product...
I just want to jump in for 1 second. When you say the snap, trap, and wrap, I saw that on your website, and I was like, that is brilliant. So do you have marketing that you work with, or did you come up with that yourself, the snap, wrap, trap?
No, I just kind of came up with that on my own.
It's good.
Yeah, it works well because the trap really makes sense. You're actually trapping the cord on the brick, and you're using the ends to prevent it from coming off. So that's how the cord stays wrapped on the brick, is you sort of trap it on there with that second end, and then you snap, wrap, trap, and unwrap, and then it does come undone, untangled. And to be honest, I didn't know it would do that cool unwrap, untangled trick when I first was thinking about how to do it, but I quickly discovered after prototyping it, wow, that's actually better than I even thought it would be. And then later again, I realized that it could stand phones too. So then I was like, wait, cord tool for your phone that stays with your phone cord that also works with your phone. I think we have a winner here.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Actually, that's a great segue because I want to talk to you about your prototyping. So, how different was the first cord brick from the one that we see today?
Um, Pretty different. Let's see. I went to Michael's and I got modeling clay, and then I just you take two different tubes of material, you open them up, and then you mix them together, and you have a certain amount of time, like 30 seconds or a minute, until the stuff starts hardening, cures, and so I did that. And the first one I made, I remember I made it into like a little log, and then I had it kind of had flat sides, but it was really rough, and then I kind of cut a groove in it with a knife and a big groove on one side and made it like a little alligator jaws. And then I cut a smaller groove on the other side. And I was like, oh, this is kind of good, but it's really ugly. Like it doesn't look pretty at all. I mean, I need something a little smaller. I need to use less material. So then I just worked on it a few more times, kind of got it down to the simplest form of the design that I could think of. Because my thought was, I want to make something that's very inexpensive to manufacture because I don't think people are going to pay a ton for this product. I mean, how much do you pay to solve this problem? I just want something that's cheap, make a lot of margin, and be able to sell it for a low price.
Did you have to go back to Michael's multiple times, or did you get everything you needed that first time? Yeah, it was. I thought it might be a multi-trip endeavor.
Oh yeah, and at this point we've re-engineered the product a dozen times or so in 4 years. So I've been constantly tinkering with it, making improvements, figuring out the manufacturing process, which is a whole story in and of itself, and making it better, making consumers appreciate the product better, giving them better value for their money, etc.
So over that 4-year period, you did get a utility patent. So congratulations on that. Can you
Thank
talk a
you.
little bit about your process in order to get that?
Yeah, so with a utility patent, oftentimes you file a provisional patent first, not always, but it's the one that you can file a provisional for, which basically means before you have to pay the full amount to file the patent, you can get like a temporary hold on that idea. And so that's what I did. I filed a utility patent or provisional patent that was very broad and general and not very specific. However, it was written by me and I used LegalZoom, so it probably wasn't ideal. We actually ended up abandoning that original patent first because I wasn't ready within 1 year, which is your time limit on a provisional patent, to do the full filing and pay what ended up being $15,000 to $20,000 to file that full patent. So I eventually got to went through a couple different attorneys and found someone that after I'd done a patent search, was able to help me write the full application for this patent, kind of right at the last minute. I mean, we really rushed to get it in with a few months. Just basically, I think we filed on the last day that I had available.
Wow.
And it actually was, because the last day I had available was a Sunday. It was even a Monday, so it was a 1 day later than the last day. It was the last business day. So it was a very challenging and unique process. And I'm fortunate I've got a very good patent attorney that has done an incredibly thorough job and give us some very broad protection. So my patent I don't think it's too narrow. We'll see if it's too broad. I don't think so, but it gives us a pretty good amount of protection in the area.
How difficult was it for you to find your patent attorney? Like, did you interview a lot of people, or what was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, and then you come up, like, I think the most difficult part for me is, you don't really know anything about it. Are people telling the truth? How good are they? How much are they going to put into it? What do you get for this amount of money? They kind of just throw a big number at you, and then it's like that, take it or leave it. But depending on the attorney and the skill of the attorney, and also what the attorney's experience is in, because there's so many different types of patents and intellectual property and technology, that you want a patent attorney that's experienced at kind of your category, your niche of what you're looking to file on. Maybe they're more familiar with that type of intellectual property, and maybe they can kind of describe your item in a way that puts it in very broad and general terms, because if you get too specific and you narrow it down too much, then people can kind of copy your idea and not be infringing on your intellectual property, which makes it a little less valuable.
That's really great insight. So do you think that in the beginning you had first used LegalZoom to try to file that patent yourself and then it didn't work out? Do you think that there was any advantage to you being able to, in your marketing, say patent pending at that point? Or
Totally. Yeah.
It was, okay.
It was still worth it. I mean, I think anything with patent associated with it adds a perceived value to the consumer so they understand. And then, of course, it also deters people who might consider knocking it off because they don't really know where you are in the patent process at that point. They don't know what your intellectual property is. So if you say patent pending, in business, it's all about risk, right? You want to reduce the amount of risk and increase the potential. But if there is a higher risk, or if there's a patent that you might have to fight against, your risk goes way up. And if you don't know what that patent is yet, then your risk is even higher because of the unknown, and maybe it could be very good protection. You won't be able to get around it. And so your investment in trying to knock off, an item like cord brick could be wasted.
So what did the trajectory of your funding look like from the point when you were going to Michael's and getting the stuff yourself and building it? See, I've been to Michael's many times, and I just have this feeling like the lady seeing you buying all this stuff, wondering what it was for. And I bet that she couldn't have imagined that it was going to be for this and that we were going to be here talking about it today. And that was going to get so much attention. I mean, we'll get into the Today Show. I want to, ramp up to that, but I'm curious about that, how you got from that point to actually getting the funds to make the product.
I would say it's a very messy journey when you're launching a startup. You think it might be smooth and you'll have a bunch of cash that's just sitting there waiting, but really that's usually not the case. You're just kind of doing it as you go, especially someone like me that was trying to kind of bootstrap my startup. I had never done a startup before, and my plan was not to go fundraise in the beginning and give a bunch of equity. My plan was to kind of test and see, is this even going to work? And if so, can I keep as much of the business as possible for as long as possible? And so because of that, I didn't want to take money from anybody that was going to ask me for equity. So I asked at first for, $5,000 here, $1,000 here, $2,000 from a bunch of different people, and was able to obtain that before I really had any prototyping or any product whatsoever. And then I promised them a huge return on that investment, which I've been paying back to some investors. And I've already paid some of them back more than they originally invested. And then I'm going to pay them a multiple on top of that just because they were so early investors. But then I had to find, indeed, more investors. We even did a fundraising pitch thanks to a local angel fund here in Naples, Florida, that kind of gave me the spotlight in front of all their members. And I got more interest, up to $100,000 of investment for a certain percentage of my company. I decided not to take it. I was able to find and secure an investment from friends and family to give me a better deal that didn't involve me giving up equity to the company. Just sort of a promise of payback plus interest, and more. But yeah, it's been a one step at a time sort of journey. We may do some more fundraising next year, but I think as a founder, you're kind of always thinking about, how fast are you growing? Where's the money coming from? How are we going to balance our credit cards? Things like that.
I was recently talking to an investor, and I asked him what the most major mistake that a lot of startups make. And he said what you avoided. He said that giving up too much of their company for cash, like that it'd be better to try to raise it other ways rather than, give up your company. So I think that it is the slow and steady type of, and it requires a lot of, tenacity because you got to keep pushing. So I want to ask, but I think it's a brilliant strategy.
Thank you.
So I want to ask you, how did you start with your go-to-market? Who are your first customers and how did you reach them?
Great question. I think it's an exercise that any entrepreneur needs to really think about and consider. I thought just going to put up a website. Well, then what? You need to advertise, it turns out. It takes a while to build up organic traffic on search engines for people converting and buying on. So Google and other search engines think that you're a valuable source to send customer traffic that are looking for that sort of thing. I found out pretty quickly I was competing against Amazon. And I thought, wow, I can't really compete against someone like that, one of the biggest companies in the world. And so then what I did was, just to answer your question, I started with a website and I thought this will be a good start. But then I realized pretty quick that wasn't going to do it by itself. So I went to a flea market, and believe it or not, that was really the thing that got me going. I went to a Flamingo flea market in Bonita Springs, Florida, and I set up a little aisle table for $20 a day. And I stood there, and I remember the first day I went, I sold 15 of my product for full price for about $10. And I was elated. I remember calling my mentor the next day and just hollering at him because it was a Friday and I was going back on the next day, Saturday. I'm like, I can't believe it. they pulled out money and they bought my product. They loved it. They were, not complaining about the price. They loved the different colors. They said they experienced the same problem as I, was trying to solve with this problem, with this product. And so it slowly grew over about 3 months from about 15 a day to about 50 a day. And so, I was selling 50 a day at the same flea market. And I kind of started to realize, like, dang, if I'm selling this many to the same people in the same area, how many flea markets could I be selling these at throughout the whole country? Then, I should be able to reproduce this pitch somewhere online or in other stores. And it does seem like, with this kind of sample size, a little bit of anecdotal evidence, but it seems like this is a mass market product that a lot of people are going to like.
I love this story. That's absolutely fantastic. So how did you bridge that gap then from selling locally in flea markets to then moving into other markets?
So one of the next steps was getting onto Amazon. If you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
And then I realized too, from selling on Amazon, which was in 2022, we finally got the product on there. We were able to convert for the keyword stocking stuffer for cord brick. And if you know anything about keywords and what you should be advertising for, it needs to be something that is exactly what your product is. You might think that you want to advertise for words that are related to your product, but really you don't. They're not going to convert well enough for you. However, stocking stuffer is a pretty general term. And the fact that we were able to convert for people searching for an idea of a gift to buy people really showed me that this product wasn't just a cord management product, and it was something bigger than that. It was kind of what I had predicted it would be, sort of the pop sockets of its category, kind of a new product that no one had ever seen before, that was going to be much more popular than any of the other existing weighted or adhesive cord holders that just did one thing. And this thing kind of did several things, and because it did several things, that made it super giftable.
Oh, yeah. And actually, that's so brilliant about the stocking stuffer because it's literally the size that can go in someone's stocking.
Yeah.
And I mean, and something
little
that
brick and coal. Yeah, except it's a useful brick.
Yeah. Also the bright color too,
Right.
That's funny about the coal. So that is so amazing. So when you got on Amazon, was that strategic about the stocking stuffer or was it a happy thing? I mean, did the algorithm just pick it up or did you actually adjust your metadata keywords in order to get it to rank for that?
I guess I should back up. So we tried to advertise for the keyword stocking stuffer because I think people had told me at the flea market that this was a good stocking stuffer.
Yeah.
And, I had originally started selling in November of 2021 at this flea market. And so, leading up to the holiday season of 2021, then I continued to sell in the spring of 2022, which in Florida, peak season down here in South Florida is January, February, March. And so that was when I got to the 50 and eventually I think I got to 65 units in a day at one point. And then later in the year, I had decided to try to advertise online on Google Ads for the keyword stocking stuffers. And my click-through rate was insane. It was like 25% on my ads, which is very high. And so I knew, just based on some limited data, like, okay, I need to go somewhere where people are looking to buy, looking to purchase. And on Amazon, that's absolutely what people are looking to do. They're coming there to shop and purchase. And so, I figured we'd try it out on Amazon, and we were lucky enough to, put a couple videos on there that ended up converting.
That's wonderful. So now how did you jump from there to the Today Show?
Yeah, so we went on into retail in 2023. I went to the National Retail Federation show in New York City, and we won Coolest Product and $10,000. It was actually voted on by attendees of the show. And so I touted the Coolest Product of 2023 by the National Retail Federation. I mean, what a cool award to win. And so I touted that all year. And near the end of the year, I looked for a publicist, and I tasked her with finding me gift lists and opportunities to showcase the product as a stocking stuffer. And she had contacts through NBC in the past and emailed someone a pitch of my product. And kind of last minute, they said, we need someone for this spot, December 19th on the Today Show. And she emailed me with about 100 exclamation points, overnight this to them right away. And so we set them up there.
Just before Christmas, too.
Yeah, it was kind of, they were calling the segment last minute stocking stuffers. And December 19th, it absolutely was. So yeah, perfect timing. And we sold out on Amazon, on Walmart.com, on my website. And it was a great finish to last year.
So in those early days when you were at the farmers markets, where did you keep all of the cord bricks?
Well, it wasn't that many. I mean, at first it was only a few thousand, and I was able to keep them in my closet at my house. Stack the boxes. They're pretty small, so you could fit quite a
Yeah.
few in a box, and about 30 pounds a box, about 100 or so units in a box. So yeah, I stacked them in my closet. I've expanded to other rooms in my house. We have a warehouse now that I've got.
So actually, I think that it's a great timing for us to have this show because Christmas is coming up. I mean, people are going to be going Black Friday shopping, and I think that this really is a great stocking stuffer gift because it's so usable. Like a lot of stocking stuffers are like, oh, this is cute, but then you kind of put it on a shelf and you don't think about it. But this is something this is cute and I can use it every day. So I think that's amazing about it. I also I think it's so I don't know if we got cut off, but Nick was saying that he was keeping the cord bricks in his closet, but that because they're so small, he could put so many of them in there. So no inventory issues at the farmers market. I'm glad because they were selling like hotcakes. So I guess now I kind of want to talk a little bit about with the time that we have left, the prototyping. How did you find a company to make them? Did you interview them? How many companies did you interview? Was that a very long process?
Yeah, so just going way back a little bit, when I had initially started designing the product in 2020, I reached out to some silicone manufacturers in the United States. I wanted to do made in the USA. I'm a patriotic kind of guy, and just thought, it'll be better because of shipping reasons and the weight of the product as well. And so we started designing the product, and at someone that responded to me, I think 1 out of 30 manufacturers in the United States responded to me, and I later figured out why. And so the one that did respond, we started working on it, and we spent about 6 months doing the prototyping. I ordered a mold. I ordered some product, some material, metal and silicone to manufacture, and we began the process, and the product did not work as I expected. It basically didn't work nearly well enough. I mean, I got pretty quick responses from other people, and I had sensed it pretty much right away when I started receiving the actual prototypes that this was not going to work. I was not going to be able to sell it. People were not going to recommend it to other people. It just didn't perform as I had hoped. So we've had to scrap it. As I know now, that's called a sunk cost. So, a lot of that first investment that I had got from friends and family just ended up going to nothing, going to my time and, a mistake.
Well, going to education. I mean, I'm sure you
failing
learned that process.
Yes, failing is definitely the best way to learn for someone like me. I need to experience it myself. I try to listen to what other people say, but yeah, usually just experiencing it for yourself and seeing what happens. And so then I went to, reach out to some friends and family, asked anybody who had manufacturing contact, particularly plastic or silicone injection molding and similar type molding. Found a guy. He had a contact in China. We got a quote in China, and the price was a little bit better than what I'd been paying. And I figured he could deliver on what we needed. I had done some prototyping in the meantime with another person who I had been connected with, and I had tested a lot of aspects that I hadn't tested quite enough with the first mold that I made. I made a crucial error. I did not do a test mold. And so usually a 1 cavity, very inexpensive or relatively inexpensive mold, and they ship you actual parts of what your finished part will look like. But I hadn't done that the first time, and so I was sure to do that. The second time, we were able to get something that I thought worked, and we went to production. Since then, I've switched manufacturers a couple times, and I've gotten my costs way down from where it initially was ordering from China. And if I hadn't done that, honestly, I wouldn't have a business. And if I hadn't gone to China, I would have really struggled to sell the product at the margins I needed to make it in the USA. The labor costs and other things associated with my product, because it's so small and we need so many, are very high. And so, I've got a great supplier in China that is, I really enjoy working with. We got quality inspectors that go and check out the factory and the product quality and the working conditions and other things like that. So I've had nothing but great experiences with them. The one downside is it does take a long time. It takes about 2 months to ship it and about a month to make it. So we've had to hold inventory all year. I mentioned we're in this warehouse now with a couple dozen pallets up in the Tampa area.
So during that process where you've been switching suppliers, I remember that you said that you had some iterations of the product. So how do you get customer feedback? I mean, I love that you listened in the early days to the people who were telling you that it should be a stocking stuffer when, you were face to face with those customers at the farmers market. But now that you're not face to face and you have a lot more customers, how are they reaching you?
So I think you're asking about like, how did I change my product design based
Mm-hmm.
on customer feedback? And I
Yes.
think my answer is almost none. I think that Steve Jobs said it best when it's like, when he said that the customer doesn't really know what they want, you have to show it to them. And I think I really resonated with the first thing, or one of the first things you opened with, where you were talking about how I had designed a product that I wanted.
Yes.
And so I value my own personal opinion quite highly when it comes to this product, because I was really designing the product for myself. And I think a common thread from, a number of entrepreneurial journeys that if you talk to other founders, is that that is absolutely what they were doing when they thought of their original idea, was they were making it for them. And I think it's really difficult to make a product that's not for you if you're not the user.
Mm.
So I've tried not to do that with my second product, Desperate, and with another product that I'm working on next year. I have created products that I actually use, that I actually want. And in doing so, I almost don't need customer feedback because the product's so simple. It's like it either does it or it doesn't do it, or it's hard to do something with it or it's not. And so it doesn't really take a rocket scientist with my particular product, CordBrick, a small little silicone weighted cord holder. Customers aren't going to be putting it into very unexpected situations. It kind of just sits there on their nightstand.
Yeah.
So really it's about, does the cord go in nicely? Does it pop out easily enough? Does the wrapping work? How many cords can you get in there?
Mm-hmm.
Does the cord come out too easily? Which it doesn't, if it's being held by a wrapping channel, and things like that. Same thing with like a phone case. Does it grip onto the phone case? I tested different phone cases and see how it would grip on, if it was wide enough to flex open and grab. We made it so it could fit Apple AirPods and similar type dongle type earbuds, so you can kind of pop them in there, and instead of put them in your pocket, if you have a cord brick around any charging station, at least pop them in there, or something else too. You can fit pens and other
That's
little
really
things
smart. Yeah.
in the side channel. So it's the customer feedback, I guess, that I've received did sort of result in me launching a second product, Desperate, which is a heavier model. And for those people who did want something that was a little heavier, I mean, people kind of made it known that if I had something heavier, they would buy it. And so I thought, okay, more expensive. They want to pay me more money. Should I let them? Yes, I should.
Yeah, that's such a great answer on both fronts, because you didn't feel the pressure to like cave to, if someone had little nitpicky things, I guess, about your main product, but you saw through your main product, it opened the door to an additional need that was separate from the original thing. And then you listened to those customers. So I think that's great. So how did you decide on the colors? I mean, did you do it yourself? Did you go in and just look at the different palette and say, I think these will be popular?
Yeah, exactly. I certainly looked at other competitors and I tried to figure out why they chose certain colors. And then I, looked at some Amazon data from some of those competitors to see what's selling, because you can easily see on Amazon public data about sales for competitors. And then I just kind of, someone had said I should make one color at first. And this was a very trusted advisor as well. And I went against them immediately. I mean, I didn't even consider doing one color for a second. I pretty much knew right away, if I'm going to create a little bit of interest with this product, people got to be able to choose at least a few colors. And then I kind of found out later, something I didn't expect that customers told me, is that they tell me all the time, I want to be able to see it. And I think, oh, that's interesting. You don't want it to blend in. And we sell a lot of black cord breaks, don't get me wrong. It's actually our number one seller, and that definitely blends in, especially at night. But at night, when the light goes off, it's actually easier to see something that's not black, that's sitting right next to your nightstand. Additionally, like your eye kind of catches the bright color. So when you're looking over for a charger, you want to just be able to spot where it is. And, I guess you think like, how long could it take you to spot where it is? But when there's all these white cords kind of all over the place, like finding where the end of it is, if it's like countertop cord spaghetti, it does take a few extra seconds, and it's just an odd inconvenience that can be solved.
I like how you say countertop spaghetti. I'm going to think of that now when I see a
countertop cord spaghetti.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So I know that you have a story about Damon John from Shark Tank, and it's something happened. Do you want to go ahead and share that with us?
Sure. Yeah, it was totally surreal, right? I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, so I've been watching Shark Tank for years. I mean, I used to record episodes back on DVR, first one, and I was at a promotional products trade show. So we entered the promotional space this year. CordBrick makes a great logo product. great logo placement on people's nightstands, good for a giveaway, especially because it does a lot of things so people will actually use it, as you mentioned. And at this promotional show in Orlando, I was just out front of my booth and I saw Damon John walking right towards me. And he had a big bodyguard that was, almost twice his height walking behind him. And I said, Damon. He said, yeah. I said, can I get a picture? It was the first thing I thought of. And he said, yeah, hurry up. And so I handed my phone to the bodyguard who took the photo. And then I was whispering in Damon's ear as we're taking this photo. I looked like frantic in the photo. And I said, you got to come check out my product. So he comes over to my table. He's like, hurry up. All right. He's like going somewhere. I mean, he was walking past my booth. He's on a mission going somewhere. And I start doing my pitch, going through it, and he goes, stop. I was like, oh no, what have I done to upset Damon John, Shark from Shark Tank? And he said, can I record that? And I said, yeah. So he pulled out his phone and he actually spent the time to have me go through the pitch again, recorded my face. Yeah, it was a pretty surreal moment, because people had said to me thousands of times at that point, have you been on Shark Tank? Are you going to go on Shark Tank? When are you going on Shark Tank? So, my answer had been no. And I think it probably still is for now, because I'm not sure that we need it. Maybe in a few more years, if we kind of stall and need some more expertise, that could be a good route for us.
Or even just the marketing of it. Like if you go on, but then you don't take a deal, I mean, that's still a lot of people that saw the cord brick. Just saying.
You're right. Yeah, and that could be a good way for us to get out. I mean, I think if I went on, I would want to go with the intention of getting a deal.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I think they try to vet people for that too. But yeah, if I were going to go on, I wouldn't want to go on again. And so I would want to go on when I could get the best deal for me. And I think, as we discussed, I didn't want to give up a lot of equity and also just want to, make a little more money so we can have a higher valuation once we get to that stage.
Yeah, I would say that the longer you can hold out, the more power you have at the negotiating table, because you have more users, you have more data, you have more everything. So this is so exciting. So now that we're going to wrap up the show, you see, you're so amazing to talk to. There's like all these things on my list I want to get to. We need to make time to talk about your Build Something initiative. Can you go ahead and lay that out, what that is for us?
Sure. Nothing fancy. I mean, we've got a charitable part to my mission, which is to donate enough money eventually to build a physical house for those in early recovery. And so I donate to a nonprofit that actually builds, manages, maintains, oversees, is in charge of security and helping people who are coming off the street from addiction, from homelessness, get a job, get fed, and, get to some meetings and get some recovery and also be in a safe environment. You're trying to get sober. A lot of people aren't coming from environments that are particularly safe. So it's also very, very expensive. And usually if you're kind of in a rough shape, like I was 7.5 years ago, just getting sober, you don't have a lot of money to spend on sober housing, which is, twice the price of regular rentals. We try to donate a little bit to that. We actually just started selling some older versions of the product that I have that I didn't want to sell to like a liquidator or something like that to their donation centers. They have little thrift stores and stuff. So they're selling some cord bricks in there now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then the other thing we do is I just love speaking with entrepreneurial students. And I just offer kind of my mentorship, if they're interested, to any entrepreneurial student that is trying to build something themselves. And I would love to be a part of it and share any wisdom or advice that I have, hopefully inspire people to kind of do the same thing. Maybe even folks that have went through something where they, thought they kind of had screwed up and didn't have, weren't going to have another chance, but have decided to put in some hard work and try to turn their life around.
That's so beautiful that you're doing that. I did see that on your website that you had mentioned that you donate to 501(c)(3)s that provide housing for people that are recovering from substance abuse. I think that's amazing. So actually, yesterday's episode, I had a guest who had he was homeless himself, and then him and his wife started a nonprofit that gave housing for homeless people. And he mentioned most of them had substance abuse issues. And then beyond that, now he helps men and women coming home from prison. So, but again, with the same thing. So he has several houses. I think that I should maybe connect you to, because, we both have a passion for helping people and it's beautiful that you use both of you really, it's so beautiful that you use your success to help other people and lift other people up. So you had mentioned also that you're willing to talk to entrepreneurs. Is there a way they can contact you?
Yes, thanks for asking. Please email me, nick@cordbrick.com. Find us on social media @cordbrick on all the main social media sites. I'm Nick Barrett on LinkedIn, founder of Cordbrick, and our website is cordbrick.com. I'd love if you buy from us there. You can also find us on Amazon if you want that quick shipping too.
Awesome. And, as we mentioned before, the holidays are coming up. This has been a well-known, well-loved stocking stuffer. So if you're looking for a stocking stuffer, please check it out. Also, follow Cordbrick anyway, because so when you come out with your new products like the desk brick, is that all going to be under the Cordbrick website and brand? Can people find out about your new products in your existing channels?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything's going to be on cordbrick.com. We have launched Deskbrick earlier this year. It's on cordbrick.com. It's on Amazon as well. I bought the domain deskbrick.com. So if you just remember that better, you can just go there. It takes you right to cordbrick.com, the Deskbrick
Nice.
page. And then, yeah, I have a few other brick ideas and products that we're coming out with next year. So we're going to continue to build the brick brand.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you, Nick. I really appreciate having you here today, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thanks, Candice. Hope to talk to you again.